right, okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Offset with Ryan Selvy. This is the first inaugural episode. I guess it's not inaugural, though, because that would indicate that it was going to be something that was yearly. But you've got me all week, baby. You got me. We've got a full schedule, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday is an off day for Adobe. So we're going to be keeping it real for the next 4 days. I've got a lot planned for you. I'm very excited to show you guys a bunch of really cool artists that have been kind enough to come on the show and share their process and share their work and let me just interrogate them for 2 hours at a time. So if this is your first time seeing my face, my name is Ryan Selvy, and I am a motion designer who live streams here on Behance and on YouTube, and like to do things like holiday specials and motion graphics and illustration and graphic design. I really should have prepared a reel for you guys, but I'm just going to start with just saying, take my word for it. I see a lot of really cool people in the chat, friends from real life, friends from online. And I appreciate everyone coming in and saying hello. A big hello to Sean and Wade and Annika. I see you there, Marissa. I see Peter's in there as well. Bruce, Elizabeth Mock. I mean, there's a Randall. There's a whole handful of people. Thank you guys for being here, and I really appreciate it. This is my first Adobe Live hosting. I've hosted a Adobe Max before, but this is the first time doing a Adobe Live. So I'm very excited about that. And thank you, Wade. Wade is moderating in the chat. Wade Cuff, who is also another live streamer. Make sure you check out his stuff and his illustrations. Beautiful illustrations. And you should always check his stuff out at behance.net/Wade Cuff. Wade has gone ahead and put in my Behance, which is behance.net/Ryan Selvy. As you can see down here, I have way too many social icons, but I'm Ryan Selvy on all of them because that's just the easiest way to do it. When I have like Xbox and stuff, it's always really weird because I don't want to put my name as Ryan Selvy, but that's where I am everywhere else. So I have my own thing there, but that's a secret. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring in a very good friend of mine, Ursula Prinz. She is a phenomenal photographer and photo editor. We met at college. We both went to Maryland Institute College of Art, but I just happened to luck out with getting to know someone so talented. We've become very close, and I'm really excited to show you guys her work. She has even dressed for the occasion, which I'm excited for you guys to see as well. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring her in. So if you guys could please give a very warm welcome to Ursula Prinz. Hi. Good afternoon or good morning for people watching on the West Coast, I guess.
Depending on where you are. Happy Monday, no matter.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. First Adobe. First. Let's do it, Ryan.
First everything. It's great to have you here. We also have people saying, woo, Ursula in the chat. Marissa helps out with some of the photography that we're going to be looking at later today.
It was Michelle.
It was Michelle. Oh, what did I say?
Marissa.
Oh my God, because it is Marissa.
No, Marissa's my girl, but she's in Baltimore, you know?
Yeah, no, wow. Oh my gosh. All right. So you can tell that I have the nervous jitters because I'm just like throwing things out left and right.
Well, they're both ends, you know, so it's fair.
I guess so, but boom. All right, we're going to have to shut down the stream, guys. I just embarrassed myself. Well, do you want to start off actually with just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. No, I would love to. First and foremost, thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this. We were at a bar like a month ago and you're like, hey, do you want to do this thing? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I have this idea. But I guess just broad strokes, I am based in Brooklyn. I went to Micah with Ryan. I have my degree in photography. Outside of once we graduated, I did retouching for a few years at like a online dress company, which was an experience, but I learned a lot. They're not even in business anymore. I mean, I'm like 90% sure they're not even in business anymore, but whatever, that was the thing. And then after that, I went to do food photography and social media marketing at a condiment company based out in Soho called Sir Kensington's. I learned a lot there. And I think the most important thing I learned was just this like really beautiful love for kind of capturing images of food. So I kind of was into food photography for a few years. I loved that food was kind of this like human connector, like across the world. And no matter where you are, like everyone gathers around the table and enjoys things, which I think is just so beautiful. And it's not a person. I don't really particularly like shooting people. I love the stillness of like objects or whatever.
And of course, today we're editing a photo of a human. So
yeah, it's all me. So that was really fun. But then a few months before the pandemic, I decided to go freelance and the pandemic hit. So that was cool. And then I kind of wanted to re-up my skill set. So I have been photo assisting and digital teching for other photographers in different fields. So there's like interiors, product, food, lifestyle. And that's been just a wonderful opportunity just to kind of relearn so much. And I feel like, especially like the styles in photography, it like really changes with like trends, just like any other everything in the world. So that's been really cool.
To that point, are you available for freelance?
Oh, you know what? I am available for freelance, actually.
And so can they just reach you through your website of ursulaprinz.com?
Yeah, I have a website, which is my name. And then I have my email, which is ursprinz@gmail. And I have a little Instagram, which is @ursprinz. And then I have a Twitter if you want to see me retweet some funny content. But email and
some hilarious content.
Creme de la creme content. That's right.
Ursula, Peter, and I, Peter's in the chat right now,
Hi,
have
Peter.
an ongoing group chat. Peter sends some really weird stuff, but
It's
you know
so
what? It's quality content.
I like it when I'm up at like 2 a.m. and I see whatever chaos he sends over, and I'm like, classic Peter. He has a brand and he sticks to it, you know.
I'll be showing you guys a little bit of Peter's work later this week. I haven't had a chance to cue it up for today, but stay tuned. Peter actually is a 3D artist,
So talented.
and he has been really honing his skill, and I'm excited to show you guys that later today as well. But speaking of work and showing stuff off, maybe we should check out a little bit some of yours.
Oh my God, what? Mike?
Let's look at your work.
So if you guys haven't already clicked the link, here is Ursula's beautiful website. As you can see, food is front and foremost. And she's got it nice also divided up for you. Which one do you want to look at first?
I guess we could do food.
Don't sound so thrilled about it.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
well, these are beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to shoot food before, but food does not like to be photographed, at least in my experience.
No, it's messy. It doesn't age well, arguably, sometimes.
No,
It's a real
but these
situation.
have you fooled. You know how on Instagram, you know, they say that like people show their best lives. This is food's Instagram. This is their best life.
Got him.
So these are just a collection of different clients, correct?
Yeah, it's like clients or places I've been to. Some of those grill shots are from my roommate's dad, from him cooking. So just kind of like wherever there's been food and around. But yeah, just a mix of clients and like personal food shots, which has been cool.
Oh, so this is this Sir Kensington's right here?
No, it's actually really,
like
since it's a Women's History Month. This is a brand called Haven's Kitchen, and it's female owned. Allie is like super incredible. They're based out in Soho. It started out with this idea of like just teaching people how to cook. And then Allie was getting a lot of feedback that a lot of people like they didn't want to buy all the necessary ingredients to make like one sauce. So then she decided to start like making and packaging the sauces so people could just cook easier. So it's like really, it's like a great idea because I feel like sometimes the hardest part is not only do you have to cook, but then you have like a whole head of cilantro, and then the whole head of cilantro is just like rotting for a week because you only need like 3 sprays or something, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the many reasons why I don't cook, because my fridge just fills with produce. So. But I think this is a really cool way of representing kind of the different, because if you just kind of shot it on its own, it is very well packaged. I like the package design. I like the branding. But it wouldn't photograph very well if you didn't have other elements to kind of really bring it to life. Now, when you were shooting this, is this something that you helped concept?
No, they've actually been super cool. I literally show up and I shoot whatever it is that they need. But I absolutely love working with them. I'm actually in the middle of wrapping up work for them because I shot with them a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, they basically, a lot of the times they want just really beautiful images of dishes you can make that highlight the sauces, and then also just like highlighting all the delicious ingredients that go into their packets and stuff, which is really cool.
Now, have you had any of them?
I have. Man, it's like, I think they had like I don't think they sell it anymore actually, but it was like a nutty lemongrass, and they made this delicious chicken soup. I love a good soup. There's also like nothing better than like warm soup belly, you know? And it was so yummy. But yeah, everything that I've ever had, because when we shoot the food, it's actual food that we end up eating, and everything has been so delicious. And it's like an all female team. Well, mostly they have like a male chef, but that's like a lot of really wonderful women that I get to work with, which is always really incredible.
And then as far as this one goes, was this just like taken within a restaurant that you went to?
Yeah. It was really cool. What's it? This is really bad, especially because we're live. I'm like spacing because this was like right before the pandemic. And I shot it at this really sucks. Because the restaurant's like really cool. It's like they hire a lot of refugees to work at the restaurant and stuff. And then they give like proceeds back to like charities and stuff too. And the chef
that's
is like, really cool. Yeah, I know. And I'm like really upset that I'm spacing on the name.
So we're starting to get questions in the chat, which is exciting. Robert of Wennerberg says, what do you use for lighting to get the food to look so good? Or is it post-editing?
A lot of it is like for that chicken chop, for example, it was just kind of like a little bit of a higher ISO, but it was natural light. And same with like the tomatoes and like those wings too. The grapefruit drink, it was just like one speed light kind of at an angle, like no diffusion or anything. A speed light
diffusion, really?
Yeah.
And that didn't get you really bad glares or anything? It's just no shadows?
No, I mean, the speed light is pretty small, so it's kind of like tiny and mighty, but it's just kind of something you can either attach to the top of your camera. It's like, you know, it has like sort of one of those things and you can adjust it, or you can prop it up on a light stand and it gives you kind of like that extra kick of light. But there's like these photos from when I went to a Peruvian restaurant. I'm Peruvian, so I randomly popped in. They're like off of like a few.
I think I went there with you and your brother.
No, that's a different one. I'm always trying to find a Peruvian spot. No, that one's in. Oh my god! And then we saw John Oliver. Do you remember that? He like walked by with his child.
Yes.
Ugh, dreamy. No, this other Peruvian restaurant is like kind of small and it's kind of like fast casual, and it's like a few blocks from Penn Station. And I randomly was in there one day, and I talked to the woman. It's like her and her husband own the spot, and I was like, hey, like I like your food. I do food photography, whatever. But that one, when I went into the restaurant, I brought again like a little speed light, and I had like a small softbox. It's like in the shape of a square to kind of help bounce the light or to give extra light because the natural light in there wasn't super great.
Yeah, so actually Bruce is asking about the equipment that you use. Obviously you keep talking about this this small speed light that you had. What do you know what brand that is?
Oh yeah, it's Godox. I wish my box was out here. Had I known, I would have showed it. No, yeah, it's just like a Godox brand. It's like a pretty affordable option. I mean, just like living in New York City, you don't like have a ton of space. So if I like work with clients for like Haven's Kitchen, for example, I will rent out like more of like the bigger strobes, like typically Pro Photos. But being at home, if I have to shoot in my apartment or just like storing stuff, I've just been cool with the Godox speed lights. But yeah, my camera, I have like a Nikon D70. I have 2 speed lights. I have like a big Octabank for when the rare occasion that I do shoot portraits. I have like a smaller square shaped softbox. And then I have like reflectors that kind of help me bounce. I use a lot of like white foam core too, like especially if I'm using like a speed light that has like no diffusion or anything. I'll have like another speed light kind of bumping, like pointing up to the foam core above so that light bounces down and kind of like softens it.
Interesting.
More of like those like harsher, because there's like a trend right now in photography and like product photography especially. And a lot of that is like the straight light source, like with nothing on the bulb or anything. From what I've seen with the photographers I've been working with. I mean, some are more technical than others, and there's a lot of little diffused pieces kind of bouncing around and helping diffuse light or whatever. But for the most part, yeah, I just use 2-speed lights.
Oh, right on. And then you said that you use Nikon, which is a choice. Not like a choice as in like, that's a choice.
No, yeah.
But like it is a choice that people say, Sony versus Nikon versus Canon. So have you always used Nikon?
Yeah, I mean, I can like speak Canon or Nikon, but when I started photography in high school, the camera we had were Nikons. And there was just like something, I think, like nostalgia and just like the excitement of like getting into photography. So I always had a Nikon. But at places that I've worked, I've also had to use like Canons, or other photographers that I work with use Canons. Of all the photographers I work with, I think a majority of them do use Canon, and there's only like one photographer that I know that she uses a Sony. Maybe Ricky uses he uses a Canon. Yeah, so it's typically
I've used Sony, but I use it for video rather than actual just photo shots. I like their DSLRs for video.
Yeah.
Use. But not to say that, by the way, all of these, I guess I should mention, I don't think I have to, but I guess I should mention that all of these views and thoughts are my own and Ursula's, and I'm not representing Adobe as a whole, recommending or criticizing any
just
sort of
camera. Yeah.
But yeah, I know you said you don't really enjoy to shoot portraits for other people, but I mean, you just look at these portraits on your website, and I mean, you had me fooled.
Yeah, multiple streams of income, right? If you want to be a millionaire or something, that's what they tell you. So I do have the occasional request to like take headshots or portraits or whatever. That was my friend Gabby. She wanted to just like go to botanical gardens and like take a lot of like hot photos. So
wait, this was just the botanical gardens? This wasn't on the set?
No, yeah, it was the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. Like
oh my gosh, like, the composition's so cool. I thought that for certain was set up.
Absolutely no. That like this was all natural light, just because it's like, yeah, that's Sahara. I know it's not like Sahara Desert or whatever. It's like the desert climate building where everything's like warm and stuff. So yeah, I saw that little corner. I thought it was beautiful. My friend Jordan on the left, he is an aspiring artist. He does a lot of music and rapping and stuff, and he always wants like photos of himself, which is fun to play around. There's Allison on the top right. She was my old boss at Sir Kensington's. She's the love of my life. She's like one of the most incredible women I've ever met. And then there's like Gabby again, and I had taken like a lighting course for a couple of weeks, and so the TA is the one on the left, and we were like playing with long exposures. I also do kind of like collaging and painting just as like my own thing. So I've been like dabbling a little bit with kind of like layering and playing a little bit more with the portraits just to like give it a razzle dazzle.
This is really cool. Kind of the integration of like 3 different source materials, because you can see that there's a back here, and then this photo, and then this photo. And then also just using this structure, I think, is really cool.
It was fun,
it's like an abstract shape. It obviously has a use case for some sort of distribution, but
the roofs in like New York City are like really interesting. You're never like sure what you're going to find up there. So I saw news like
no, you're not.
I'm like, are you going to fall through? I don't know, but it was
when it's cool. Nice and soft, and you just kind of have to creep through.
Is this it? I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, it's been fun, like dabbling and playing and stuff. Rico, your roommate, one of our mutual friends, he needed headshots, which he didn't make it on my website because I've not updated in a second. But he asked for some, and then our friend Chase also wants some. I don't know. So I don't like love doing it, but it is fun, especially if it's for friends and stuff. And it's like a muscle too, because I don't particularly like doing it. I feel like I should lean into it and at least like know how to do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So
absolutely. So all right. Well, I think we should probably start hopping into something. I know.
Yeah, let's do it.
I know that I was over your place late last week, Thursday, as you were starting this process. We're going to go in a little bit, in just a little bit, you guys. We're going to go into kind of the inspiration and the women behind the piece, but we're starting off with sharing Ursula's screen here.
Here we go.
In this beautiful yellow chair. And I guess you just want to start off with kind of like talking about the series and kind of what you were thinking and where it came from.
Yeah, of course. Like where to begin? Okay. I guess essentially over the past course of the year with like the pandemic and everything going on, there's just been like a lot of time to like think about just like life in general, right? And I think kind of something that I've been struggling with is just graduating from MICA. I learned so much, but then afterwards, like I felt like I went into more like commercial route with photography, just because like I had to pay bills. You have student loans, you have an apartment in New York City to, you know, and then you want to go out and do things. So it's just kind of like figuring out a way to make money, right? So I kind of feel like I left a lot of the like artistic practice of like the real interest of photography like kind of behind for a decent amount of years, and then the pandemic hit, and then all you do is
not too many years. We haven't been out for too long.
You know, it's 2022. We moved here in 2015. That just like jars me a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's been like what, like 7 years if I'm doing the math correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, just again, I just was focusing more so on whatever. And then over the course of last year, I've just been doing a lot of thinking and kind of like wondering, what kind of life is it do you want to lead? Like, you want to have like your 9 to 5, but then like, what else do you kind of want to do? Is that everything, whatever? And then I realized I kind of wanted to more heavily lean into more of like an artistic practice. And then my neighbors, Elliot Purse and Crystal Louise Smith, they're so talented. They're so inspiring. Elliot has like a 9 to 5, but then he comes home, he cooks dinner, he hangs out with his wife, and then he goes back to the studio. Krista works in the studio all day. She also teaches figure drawing lesson or classes at like a couple of like FIT, and I forget what the other one is. She just started it this semester. But they're like figuring out this really beautiful balance of like, making a career, but then also really leaning into being artists. And so that's been very inspiring to me. I mean, Ryan always hustles. You're always doing all your different live streams, like the holiday special, like that's just so much fun. But I didn't really know like, what is it that I want to say as an artist? And then at the beginning of the year, I went through a breakup, which was, an experience. And I started doing like a lot of reflection and just kind of like looking back and thinking like, when anything happens, you're kind of trying to think of these common threads that are going through and whatever. And
kind of like therapeutic ways to kind of approach it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Because you're just trying to process. And then I realized like, this is just who I am. I like to self-reflect and I like to think about who it is that I am and just kind of like the relationships that I have and my friendships and everything. They're so important to me. So I was kind of thinking like, is there a way to kind of merge these ideas? Right. And then I thought, because my birthdays, we have like birthdays that are pretty similar. It's like beginning of January. The breakup had happened like a few days before that, whatever. And I was obviously very much in grieving and I was very dramatic. And I was like, I should do a self-portrait of being really sad and then come back to it in 6 months, whatever, and somehow incorporate like a present me with the past me. And maybe there's something in that. And then I got very busy assisting for like a couple of weeks on this shoot and I kind of left it to the back burner. But then towards the end of January, I ended up going to the Met Museum and I realized I should be doing that a lot more, especially because it's one of the beautiful perks of living in New York City. You have like all this access to like all these different places and museums and art and culture and whatever. I went with our friend Peter. We went to the Surrealism show and that was so incredible. I felt like so inspired. And again, I thought about like, should I do a self-portrait? But like, and I told Peter, I looked over at him and I said something along the lines of, like, what is it that I really have to say? And we were walking through a self-portrait exhibit of like other photographers. And Peter was like, Ursula, there's like literally all these people who have something to say, like you could just add to it. And I was like, dang it, Peter, you're so right. So then I started thinking about it more. And all of the surrealist artists that we saw, I mean, it was just like people handling surrealism and all these different concepts of like what they were trying to say throughout the world. And that was really cool. And maybe that's just all art is. I mean, it was like my number one hated question at MICA, right? It's just kind of like, what is art? And then the teacher asks, and then they just walk away and let the kids just, blow up fires in the room for 2 hours. It was awful. Anyway, but like, maybe that's, for me, maybe that's all art really is, right? It's just like these human experiences that people can see a piece and they can kind of resonate with it. So it's like, okay, here we go. Like the wheels are turning. So then it started like moving pretty quickly. And I was like, okay, well, I've always liked surrealism. I've always been a big fan of like collaging and painting, and especially with like magazines and tearing and whatever, and kind of creating these like different spaces, whatever, right? And so I was like, well, is there something there? And I was like, well, if I'm trying to like rediscover what it means to be an artist, maybe I should honestly like lean back into photography. Like that's what made me be really interested in artists. I'm not a very good drawer. I'm not a very good like still life painter, whatever. So I was like, photo as a medium. I want to do self-portraiture. I just saw surrealism. What's next? And then my natural thought is Frida Kahlo. And I feel like she is like the GOAT for so many reasons, right? Like she's absolutely everything to me personally. I'm Peruvian, I'm first generation American. I feel pretty disconnected from my culture. It's just my brother and I, and I'm, you know, I live in New York City, but I don't particularly have like a huge, like, I'm not in like an environment with a lot of like other Spanish Hispanic people. So I really look to like music and artists to kind of like help me feel grounded in my culture. And Frida has always been someone who's been like a through line and consistent with me. She came, they had an exhibit of her work at the Brooklyn Museum. I think
we went together, right?
No, but I went over to your apartment afterward because at the time you were like 2 blocks from there, and I like came with all these bags of things from the gift shop. I was like, Ryan, look what I bought. It was absurd. It was like, I do not need to be dropping all this money. And I told myself, no, but I love a gift shop, and they had so much cool stuff. I still don't regret it to this day, but I bought a few things. And one of the paintings that I'd seen there, and then I bought a small print of it, it's like a self-portrait of herself. It's titled Self-Portrait with Cropped Hair. She made it in the 1940, and it was like right after her divorce with Diego Rivera. And like, case for whatever, Diego and Frida had like an insane relationship, right? They were together, they weren't. They loved each other very much, but they were just like very not good for each other. And it was honestly, it was like super chaotic. But the self-portrait I thought was just like so beautiful. And then on the top of it, I'm pretty sure it was like based off of an actual song, but then she rewrote the lyrics. And the lyrics in Spanish translate to English: "See, if I loved you, it was for your hair. Now you're bald, I don't love you anymore." And she had kind of depicted herself.
Which I am so scared my boyfriend will tell me one day.
Stop, Aaron's gonna love you regardless, baby. You're thick and thin. But you know, the painting is pretty cool for a lot of reasons, right? Like, she is kind of looks like a non-binary. She kind of like messed with that a lot too, and kind of like played with her depictions of like gender and stuff, which were at the time, right, kind of like revolutionary, even though that's like a whole conversation like in and of itself. Like, things have been consistent throughout history, but it was cool that she is making work kind of showing herself like in this suit. She had depicted herself kind of like cutting off all of her hair because allegedly like Diego really loved her hair. And it resonated with me because in 2013, our junior year of college, I had shaved off all of my hair. And for me, there was like a lot of funny factors that went into it. Like, I think Guardians of the Galaxy had just come out or something, or was coming out. And
I was not expecting this conversation to lead to Guardians of the Galaxy, but here we are.
But Karen Gillan, who I was obsessed with because I was super huge into Doctor Who at the time, she had actually buzzed off all of her hair, and she has like a beautiful, and I say this with a lot of it, like a beautifully circular shaped head. And I was like, that's really cool. But you know, my hair is growing out because I shaved it out a couple of years ago, and I decided to start growing it back out. But I had always had like really big curly hair, and especially someone who grew up in central Pennsylvania, at the time, the town was mostly white. I was like one of maybe a couple of dozen brown and black kids. Like, I felt like it was just something that really made me stick out, especially when I would straighten it, and then people were like, "You look so good with straight hair." Anyway, and that's not the point. The point is I had a lot of hair. What was going on?
That's also the point. I think that's a valid piece that contributes to the work.
Thanks, Ryan. But I was also in this like chaotic situationship, and it was like one spring break. I had watched Fight Club, misinterpreted that movie, I think, because I was like half awake and eating Chinese food. And I woke up and I was like, I'm just gonna cut off my hair. Like, I feel like not totally sure what's happening in this situation with this guy. I'm wondering if maybe it was a way too for me to kind of like lean more heavily into being feminine. Because I was like, if I feel like I'm hiding behind my hair, but if I just shave it all off, like, he's going to have to see me. I'm going to have to see myself. I'm going to have to really be thoughtful in how I'm depicting myself. To make a long story short, as my friend Mimi says, I saw that painting and it just like really resonated with me on so many levels. And I think that, again, just like one of the most beautiful things about art, because I feel like I'm trying really hard to be good at words, but sometimes it's very hard to be good at words. And so when you can see something that kind of nails it, I feel like that's just pretty powerful. So coming out of this breakup, I want to make a self-portrait to just kind of feel like, what happened here exactly? So the surrealism show, the thoughts about Frida Kahlo, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not buzzing off my hair anymore because I'm having issues with boys. I'm growing it out, but like, what else could kind of be there. She's sitting on this chair. Like, I don't think I really want to have like this powerful pose, but so it's just like getting the wheels turning. I ended up finding this like cute stool chair, which is what's shown here through capture. And it was like a wood colored. I just fell in love with it, and then I just spray painted it yellow, and I was like, this is it. This is kind of like Frida's chair, but not. It's like a beautiful nod to it. In her portrait, the floor isn't, and I keep looking off because I'm like looking at the wall. It's like in my living room. The floor isn't quite wood, but it kind of reminded me of wood. I have wooden floors, whatever. Instead of having these like cut pieces of hair, I decided to kind of put these dead roses on the ground to just kind of signify, you know, just kind of like, I guess through the self-portrait, I'm trying to figure out, and what I realize is probably going to end up being more of a series, because I wanted to put so much into one image. I was like, we have all the time in the world. Let's just really flesh it out. And this image is kind of beginning to depict some grief or whatever. So there was that. And then just kind of, I knew I was going to be in the image. So I was like, well, what am I going to be wearing? And then when I was thinking about surrealism and photography and like rediscovering the love for that and like women, my mind immediately went to Francesca Woodman. She was 22 years old. She went to RISD, and it's actually really sad. She ended up committing suicide. There was like a lot going on, but she had exited a relationship, was not doing well, and ended up passing away. And she's very heavily into surrealism and like conceptual art, and her work's just kind of like weird and cool. Like she'll do like a lot of long exposures. Everything's in black and white and film. And she was somebody, when I started getting into photography at MICA, I like learned about her because it was also like the Tumblr era. And so obviously she was like floating
the Tumblr era.
Shout out. Part of me will always live there, and I will never forgive Yahoo. But so I thought, okay, cool. And then I was looking at some of her work, and she had some pretty cool images of herself, and kind of this idea also she played with like the female gaze versus the male gaze, which is something that I've been thinking about a lot, right? Because there is kind of like a big difference, and especially with men thinking that they understand what the female gaze is, but it's actually the male gaze just rewrapped a little bit. Like guys will think the female gaze is Chris Hemsworth, like a photo of him sweaty working out at the gym, right? Because they think that that's what women really want. And that's not bad by any means. Yeah, he's very cute. But that's just the male gaze for men, because it's men who are like looking at him kind of like, oh, I want to be ripped. And this is, of course, it's not to speak for everybody or whatever. That's just from what I've been.
Yeah, I don't know. You know,
but the female gaze really is more so like, you know, like Mr. Darcy's hand shaking, right? Like after he helps Elizabeth Bennet out of, or getting into the carriage from the 2005 Pride and Prejudice Keira Knightley movie. His hand like shaking because he just touched her. Like that's exciting. That's like the female gaze. Jason Momoa is very hot, and I love watching him walk through water in Aquaman. But you know, it's hotter that he bought Lisa Bonet like her very first, like I think he bought her like the exact model of her first car, and then like redid it and like gifted it to her for her birthday or for her anniversary. I don't remember, it's one of the two, but he gifted it to her. I was like, that's super thoughtful, and that's really romantic, and that's what women really want. But Francesca Woodman didn't really deal with a lot of that. Her version of kind of like the female gaze was just kind of like showing off like the naked female form, and it was always herself. She did like self-portraiture, and just kind of showing that the female body, like something outside of like a sexy objectified thing for males to consume. So that was like really interesting, and so I'm trying to also understand like where I can find the connection of like through the series that I'm working on, how I can help kind of add to the conversation of female gaze. Because essentially, I think what I'm trying to say with the series is just kind of like grief and heartbreak are pretty devastating, but it's such a universal experience, especially for women. And I think more so too, from my experience, it's like something where you kind of really give a lot of yourself in relationships. And of course, it's not just like a one-sided thing. There could be better boundaries established and whatever. But I don't know, you give a lot, and then if you're in relationships with straight men, they just take a lot. So there was something in there, and then I want the series to kind of speak to women who have similar experiences. Because when I talked about being heartbroken because, you know, I'm really sad or I wasn't able to eat for a few days, like all of my female friends were very much like, oh my God, they will crack a joke, but there's so much sincerity of like understanding, like, oh yeah, like of course, being heartbroken like really sucks. And this just kind of like sisterhood is kind of really beautiful. So to make work by a woman for other women, I don't know, this all felt very appropriate for Women's History Month, and kind of why I was like, oh yeah, sure, let's get into it.
Cool. So I think actually with that is a perfect transition. We've talked a little bit about Frida, and I think it would be a perfect time to hop into some art talk to just kind of go over a little bit about their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Frida Kahlo, July 6th, 1907 to July 13th, 1954. I'm always really surprised and excited when people die near their birthday. My great pop-up died on his birthday, and I'm always like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, I would love to die on my birthday.
Oh,
just
Jesus
be like
Christ.
bookends.
Yeah.
I mean, not this birthday. I just you know,
a birthday in the future.
A birthday, you know.
Yes.
Make it my 100th birthday. Why not? But this is a beautiful picture of her. This is very iconic, especially her image and her flowers and her brow have all become synonymous with Frida. I will say that she was popular during her time, but just so similar to so many people that we talk about. She really gained prominence like in the 70s during the women's kind of movement. And it's, I mean, I also have some stuff from the other artists that you were talking about as well, who also postmortem also gained popularity. So it's kind of like, oh, cool. Yeah,
it would really be great to appreciate people while they're still here, you know, not that I'm sure they would like some of the validation. I'm sure that would feel really nice.
Oh, 100%.
It sucks.
But I wanted to pull up her house because I know you spoke to the yellow, which also speaks to her, but also blue.
I thought about blue too. Her, for people who haven't been there, this is like quite literally the most beautiful blue I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how they do it, but if there's something I love talking about, it's this blue. It's like so rich and saturated and almost has like these like red undertones that also pop out too. It's a beautiful house. So if you're ever in Mexico City, you should definitely walk by. It's gorgeous.
Absolutely. And so she got into painting after being bedridden from a bus accident in 1925. We have a lot of a close look into kind of her struggle with health issues. Her early works kind of refrain from veering too far from traditional self-expression, but her work grows more adventurous as she continues her career. She focused her works around relationships, challenging femininity, death, religion, and her struggle with health complications. This is an earlier one, and you can kind of see that it's a beautiful painting. It has a lot to unpack from it, but it's also kind of not what we know her for, because this was kind of the early times. Mm-hmm. Also, feel free to add in anything as I'm going through. This is just kind of like a general walkthrough.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. I'll chime in.
This is her in her bed with a custom easel that she set up, or I guess she had set up for her as well, and that way she could paint. And a big part of her work is that she also kind of painted the world that she imagined based off of reality as well, but also based off of kind of the symbolism and the surrealism that we see in her paintings. So this one is one of a big stepping stone for her in 1939. She was actually the first 20th century Mexican artist to have a piece showcased in an internationally renowned museum because the Louvre bought the frame, which is here on the left. And so kind of to the point of her fame being, during her time, she did have fame. She did have some renowned experience, just not obviously to the level that we know her as now. When she was dating Diego, which became a big part of her career or part of her life, obviously that was kind of like, a Kim Kardashian and Kanye West kind of situation.
Not with that comparison. I'm still really angry with him. With both of them, honestly. Diego can get these hands too. What a mess.
Right. And also I forgot to ask, Bruce has had some really great questions throughout,
okay.
and we're going to touch on them again. Remind me to come back to it. Bruce wants to talk about clients and word of mouth versus networking. But
yeah, let's circle back.
We'll circle back to that. Bruce wants to know if what you think about the movie Made with Salma.
With her in the movie, the Frida movie with Salma Hayek.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy because I mean, not to bring it there, but that was like a Harvey Weinstein movie. And then yeah. And so there was like some pretty creepy stuff that happened, I guess, behind the scenes. And he was very pushy for things. So it kind of is a bummer because I really did like it. I think Salma Hayek is really talented. I also think she's very beautiful. I thought the depiction of it was super great. But to kind of know that little added layer of things was kind of tough. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was beautiful. And from what I read and learned about Frida, I felt like it felt pretty accurate and it didn't take a lot of huge leaps and bounds from what I remember of the movie.
Absolutely. Next thing I have up is the Two Fridas, which is in 1939. And she created this piece during the 2-year separation from Diego. And it represents the struggle between independence and companionship. And this kind of speaks to what you were talking about earlier with a reflection of independence first, kind of being like the need for wanting to be with someone at the same time. Very similar to the other one where she cuts her hand off. She once again has scissors in her hand, but this time it seems a little bit closer to her life source. I also really like the clouds in this. She doesn't do too much with like landscapes and clouds and what have you, but this kind of always makes me want to see a little bit more of that because it's beautiful.
It's, and it's also just really cool too, because I feel like her spaces that she puts herself or others in is just always really cool. Like there's depth, but it's also kind of flat. Like it's interesting, but it's not super overwhelming. It just like really makes sense. And it's just really incredible. And then also to just think about that she's probably in her bed making this, like, I don't know how she did it because I'm laying on my back watching TikToks for like 20 minutes and my arm's falling asleep, So it's just like, to 100%. Have that kind of love and dedication for it and just kind of like the persistence and then to become an icon is just incredible.
It's absolutely inspiring. I included this one because the wounded table is very different from what you see with her. Just because it's void of any color. Obviously, a lot of the imagery and her composition is on point. But I mean, you look at the legs of the table, the little literal legs. She has a deer, which she kind of she had deer in her own life, and she would use them as like a means to fulfilling this void of having children. And then she has children on the other side of the table, which are not hers. And it's just so weird to see this one, but it's also, you can tell it's kind of by the same person, but it's one that I didn't see as much. And it's one when I was kind of gathering images. I saw this one and I really liked it.
No, it's beautiful. It's a good, I don't think I've seen that one. So it's I love that.
1940. That's the other thing. Like heartbreaks make such great art.
No better pain, honestly, sometimes. Good.
And then we were talking a little bit about this self-portrait with cropped hair. And I have a little zoom in again with those scissors. This is obviously later from the previous one. I love how the hair is draped over the chair and hanging down here. She uses hair a lot to kind of show constricting binds. And this is kind of the first look that we have of it. I have another piece here in a second. I think somebody in the chat said this was one of their favorites, was the one with the monkey. But once again, she has that constricting neck thing going on, and she's got the idea of like a bleeding neck, and it's a thorn necklace, but with birds and plenty of symbolism. Yeah. So you saw this one at the Brooklyn Museum, right?
They had a lot of her heavy hitters, and then they also showed a lot of, because she also took a lot of photos, so she was into photography. I have a book of her photos that she took, and I think it was her dad who kind of inspired her with that. I think he was also taking a lot of photos of their life and stuff. Or was he an actual photographer? Anyway, she also took photos, which I think is pretty cool, and they showed a lot of that at the museum, along with her paintings, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. They also had a really good selection of her body cast that she would then paint onto her body cast. Unfortunately, when I was throwing this stuff together, I couldn't find a really flattering picture of it. It didn't do it justice, so I actually didn't include it.
But those are really pretty.
They're beautiful, and they're also very sad because she also like cuts out parts of it because, as we were saying, she had issues with carrying children. So she would like cut out these holes in the stomachs to kind of represent her struggle with it. Very sad.
Which is pretty incredible for the time too, because I feel like miscarriages and issues with fertility and stuff, like even today, I guess the conversation's maybe getting a little bit better, but for at that time as a woman to really embrace that and have that be like something that you're openly speaking about is like pretty revolutionary too.
Yeah, 100%. She was brave on so many fronts. I know Peter is in the chat saying that her willpower to continue to paint through those injuries is a testament to her not allowing anything to deny her. I says, at least that's my interpretation.
Yeah.
Which I think is a great point. It's very inspiring. This is another one about heartbreak. The one that I thought was really interesting here was Diego and I. When I was reading a little bit about the importance of this portrait, the thing, once again, you have the constricting hair around her neck once again, although like that is something that you could see normally, like maybe someone got a little windswept and it wraps around their neck. But in this case, we know for it to be a little bit constricting. And then the thing that I found really interesting was that every eye on there, she has a pyramid of eyes. So, you know, there's 5 eyes in the portrait, but the only ones that are directly looking at us are from Frida. Whereas this like this Diego that's just taking over her brain is up here, but it's not addressing the viewer. It's not addressing
the audience.
Us.
Yeah.
So,
and her even like adding the little tears too. Like I kind of hate myself for saying this, but it's kind of like very Euphoria makeup right now too, like with like the gemstones and stuff. She's revolutionary. She's ahead of her time.
I never thought that today we would be talking about Fight Club. We'd be talking about Euphoria. We'd be talking about
guessing, baby, day one.
You know. I'll take it all. Pride and the Prejudice. You know, it's all.
We should
all
always
great.
be talking about that.
No, I know. Yeah. And then the second one that I wanted to bring up was Francesca Woodman, who died tragically young at 22 from suicide, unfortunately. But this is yet another example of someone who really was not seen in their time. Hello to Drossel in the chat. Good to see you guys. Also, Chris says being that openly vulnerable is amazing. I agree.
Yeah.
And Mike is also calling out that the one with the parrots. Oh, the parrot one with Frida is really, really good as well. I obviously don't have that. But speaking of Francesca, when did you first kind of come onto or have Francesca like come onto the scene of your radar, of your psyche? Was that in college?
Yeah. I like, because I don't quite, it feels like a little too dark for like high school Ursula, although she would have been ready for it. I really think it was like freshman Tumblr era, like her just like coming up on my feed, and I was like, who is this? Because her images were like really cool. I had done when I first got into photography, I'm not sure how a lot of people's curriculums are, but you start out with black and white film photo because you're really trying to understand like composition, rule of thirds, I guess the same thing, like value, contrast, like all that stuff. So when I saw her work, I thought it was cool. And also just kind of this idea of like, you know, self-portraiture. I mean, Frida like had some kind of code that she depicts a lot about, she makes a lot of work about herself because that's a subject that she knows best. And in high school, I kind of started dabbling with some self-portrait work, but then started drifting to like other things. So when I saw Francesca, I don't know, it like kind of really resonated. She's kind of in these like weird kind of crumbly spaces, like again, messing with like long exposures and the female form. It was like really cool. And I feel like kind of different. It like almost wasn't like, I liked that it wasn't like pretty, you know, like it was kind of, it was just really like gritty, I guess, instead. It kind of rhymes, but it was like really cool. So it really stuck with me. And I genuinely hadn't thought about her in years. And so when I was thinking a couple of months ago about self-portrait work, she just like came into my head from the recesses of my subconscious. So I was happy to remember her.
No, I mean, her stuff is beautiful. This is her at 13 back in 1972, already kind of playing with how she's looking away from the camera and kind of the absolute feeling of depth, you know, which, you know, isn't always that easy to kind of capture in photography without it feeling like accident.
Yeah.
It was very intentional. This one wasn't gritty yet, but it gets closer.
Yeah.
This is one that I know you spoke of, part of the series. I think I also have the other one up next, which is Space 2. But using long exposure and kind of this like violent jerking motion. Almost feels like not extraterrestrial.
But kind
feels
of,
almost
right?
like paranormal, kind of.
Yeah. And I also love too that like you don't always typically like see her face, you know, like I think like even in the previous one, right, like her hair was covering her. You can kind of tell like her body, right, but her head is just really like in movement, so you're not really like getting a sense of identity from her. It's more so from like her overall form, which is like really interesting too. And again, in this like empty space, it is kind of like jarring. Kind of looks like a sleep paralysis demon, but in boots. It's kind of cool.
Sleep paralysis demon in boots. Rick wants to know also if this one was a selfie stick. I was thinking the same thing. I don't know what she's controlling because it's all off of this one camera, but like definitely not taking on an iPhone. This is 1972, baby.
Definitely not. Yeah, I was curious too because I'm like, well, if it was like the, you know, with the buttons on, I don't know how she would have done it. Or maybe like activating a self timer. I don't know.
Miraculous technology of the 70s, you guys. Who knows? This is the other one of Space 2 that I know you wanted to talk a little bit about. I think this one's great because once again, we kind of like see her for her body without her face and with identity. And I mean, obviously I'll let you speak to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's also just really cool. Like, again, this element of like collaging, like this lack of identity. I don't know. It's just like really cool. And then you love it. I'm also saying like you can kind of see the walls like kind of crumbling around the ground. I don't know. It's just really, it's really pretty. It's abstracted in like a different way. Like she's trying to blend in, but she's still very much like in this space. I don't know.
Yeah. That's like wallpaper, right? Like
yeah,
that's
it looks like it.
It's cool because none of the wallpaper is actually on the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like it just be like if she had, I don't know. It's like, how did she know? Like if she ripped the paper and then the other side, it looks like a really pretty floral print and stuff. I mean, sometimes happy accidents happen, but that's like a pretty cool accident to stumble upon.
Very, very cool. Also, here's another really great one. This one's very solemn, but I like how the focus here is on the portraits that were already made. It's a portrait of portraits.
Yeah.
But you can still see that she is like very related to what's being showcased.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely kind of like this feeling of grief a little bit. And then also like this accented spotlight too, to kind of really show it, and everything else being really dark or whatever. It really sets a tone, which is gorgeous.
And also you can see that all of these have like their like Polaroid forms in there, kind of shown as well. Hello, Kiss by Creative. Welcome to the stream. It says, I was born that year. Yeah, right. This one I thought was really cool because I pulled it up because she's really known for her black and white, but this one I thought was beautiful colors. And I also, once again, she cropping out that face. She's always just like having a sense of identity without her identity being her face, which is what we just immediately always assume is the default, you know?
Yeah, it's really challenging it, which is really cool.
And the cropping's cool. The chair's cool. The chair kind of reminded me of the chair that you have in your series that we're about to look at.
And even that like stripe of pink too at the bottom with like the greens, it's just like very beautiful.
Yeah,
it's great. Olivey, yeah. Great
sense of color. There's another one, 1980. This one's getting closer to her untimely death, but this is cool using the shapes of the umbrella and then also that broomstick. Not the broomstick, the
ruler,
holder of the umbrella kind of coming at the camera once again. Feels very similar to the first piece that we looked at that, was 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
And then finally, I included this one because I thought this one was really cool. You'll see in a second when we look at Ursula's piece that it deals with cloth and the idea of kind of like using its form and shape and as it develops. But I included this one because I thought it was really cool and reminded me a little bit of what we're about to look at.
Yeah, no, it's very pretty. And like, again, like this kind of almost like yin and yang in a way, and like a mirroring of sorts, but not. And then that extra layer in between the two forms. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. But cool. All right. So we're about an hour in now. We haven't done, I know, right? We haven't done any extensive work with our hands, but I am assuming that plenty of our viewers are actually working as they watch. So let's take a quick break to do some monkey paws. I'll walk you through the door. All right, so monkey paws. These are actually learned through Anna Davis Court's streams. She actually will be on the stream later today, and she happens to come on at but
3, 4. I saw the schedule. I don't remember. No, is it right after? Do you have a break?
So it'd be what, 1?
Yeah, no.
It'd be 12.
12:30.
I don't know. She's up. Wait, what is? I have the schedule here. What is the schedule? Let's check out the schedule. Here we go. The schedule for today. Yeah, so we're technically 9:30 to 11:30, and she is 12 to 2. Don't worry, I will be there. I'm not going to miss it, you guys. And then also, I guess it's important to also call out that Cody Bear has her show Power Prompts at 2:30. And then tomorrow we have Zachary Bromberg on with video editing and Christy Campbell from Pink Pony Creative. And she's going to be showing us some graphic design instructions. So anyway.
Wait, as a quick side, I didn't know Zach was going to be on your thing this week. He is, if anyone it can be around tomorrow, Zach is so funny, like so hilarious. Cannot emphasize that enough. So it would be a very good time.
It's going to be great. It's going to be very fun.
I reckon.
But for our monkey paws are a great way to make sure that we take care of our hands. The hands are obviously one of the most used tools as artists beyond anything else, like any of these Adobe programs that we're going to be looking at. Oh, who's this? Oh, Clever's here. Hi, Clever. But so what we're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to reach out front like this. All right. And then you're going to bring in your hands like this. So, and then you go, ooh, ooh, ah, ah. So you can feel like that. You're going to hold that for a second. All right. And you bring it up. And then you want to go down. All right. And then you're going to monkey paw again. Ooh, ooh, ah, ah.
Ooh.
You'll feel that one a little bit more, right?
Deep stretch.
Yeah. Now, if it starts to hurt or anything, make sure you guys stop because you don't want to overdo it or anything. The next thing we're going to do is you're going to flip over your hands now. Kind of be like, here you go. And once again, we're going to bring it in. Go, ooh, ah, ah.
Ooh, ah, ah.
Ooh, ah, ah. And then one more time, and this is the one that always gets me. This one hurts the most for me, and also you can see Anna illustrated these down here. So you go from here, and you bring them facing yourself, and then oh, hi, hello, ooh, ah, ah. And you're gonna want to shake it up, and then we're gonna do it one more time, just to go through everything. You guys are professionals now, so you have it. But we're gonna start with here we go.
Here we go.
Ooh, ah, ah.
Ooh, ah, ah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Here we go like this. And, ooh, ah, ah.
Ooh, ah, ah.
Oh, ooh, ah,
yeah, this
ah.
one's really intense. I think this one's the most intense for me.
This is the one with my thumb that kills me. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Flip
That
it.
little thing, the tendon or whatever.
Ooh, ah, ah.
This one's tough too. I should be stretching more. Things I am not flexible. Could not be
this
me.
one. Ooh, ah, ah.
Ooh, ah, ah. Oh my god.
So there we go. Thank you to Anna Davis Court for teaching us that. I think she learned it through something else, but you know, it's a thing within itself. And then I don't know how to go into this, but I do want to play it just because I made them. Let's do a quick little promo for the Let's Go Fresco that happens later this week. Let's Go Fresco with Kyle T. Webster, Thursday mornings at 7:30, only on Adobe Live. All right, but we've done enough beating around the bush. Let's get into some awesome editing tips. I know that I think it was Bruce or Sean earlier was asking what program is this? Is this what you shoot in? Mm-hmm. Do you shoot in this program? What is this?
Yeah, well, unrelated, Kyle T. Webster, I downloaded all of his brushes for Photoshop. So I'm thinking I'm going to definitely tune in because I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, no, I remember when I first started working at Adobe and I started talking to him and I like my manager or whatever was like, hey, yeah, just reach out to this guy, Kyle. And I was like, oh, Kyle? He's a superhero, Micah.
High key, like a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Anyway, so that's very cool. Kind of starstruck by that. No, yeah. So we will be editing in Photoshop, and in terms for like capturing, so when you shoot tethered, you have your camera, and then you have a cord that plugs into your computer. And so as you're shooting things, you can see it come into your computer. And I feel like it makes it extremely easy to just kind of see. So I am a big fan of Adobe. Lightroom has the option to also do it as well. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I feel like Capture One is a lot more intuitive and a little bit more in depth.
Ooh, starting fire.
I know. But listen, I think like everyone's always competing with each other. So Lightroom will advance and try to catch up and everything too. But I just feel like in terms of like how things are laid out, like where you can see stuff coming in, I know Lightroom has a similar situation where you can kind of see all of your files and stuff, but you can also edit in here. I'm not going to plug Capture One on Adobe. Anyway, I'm so sorry. I love Adobe. I got like CS2 Photoshop on when I was like in 9th or 10th grade. This boy that like really liked me, he like gave me a copy of it, and I was like, oh my god! And I've never looked back since. I love Photoshop.
But now we pay for our subscription.
We pay for our subscription now. I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed.
You're doing great.
But just as like a behind the scenes, so I did end up shooting in my apartment. So this is kind of like the very beginnings of the shoot that ended up happening. I bought a lot of fabrics. I kind of wanted to lean into this idea of like rose tinted glasses or rose colored glasses, a little something I learned from BoJack Horseman. But right, it's like this idea of you ignoring red flags when you're in love because all the red flags seem like regular flags. But in the final like image, it doesn't really come across as that. Again, it was like another thing to kind of justify maybe like building out a series exploring this whole thing that I've been thinking about. But you see me here just kind of testing in my Clueless t-shirt. I'm trying to see like where to sit, where to move the chair. And then I still have to move my couch at the time. I'm surprised I'm not more embarrassed showing about this. But anyway,
perfect. This is great. This is all part of the process.
It's all part of the process. And then, I had like, so the ceiling and the crop, I wasn't sure what it was going to look like. So I had pulled it into Photoshop and just like terribly expanded to see like what it would look like if I were to raise the fabric. And then it looked kind of funky and I was like, I don't know. And then I kind of realized as I was shooting that I needed more fabric. So I ran around the corner, went to Lester's Fabrics, found out they're retiring next year. It's like a really small fabric store in Brooklyn. I live in Bushwick. He invited me maybe to go hang out in Honduras with him and his wife when they retire. So it was a great day overall. So I got more fabric. And then the next day, my very good friend, Michelle Serwinski, who I guess I'm just going to plug right now. I love Michelle. And I really feel like without her love and encouragement and support, and then like her coming and spending the day with me and like helping me kind of figure this out, I wouldn't be brave enough maybe to do this without her. So just a little shout out to Michelle. But
I'm gonna go ahead real quick. I'm just gonna show off Michelle's work real quick.
Yes, Michelle's also a photographer. She's based in Jersey City. She's also very beautiful. So not only can she take a really incredible photo, make you feel great behind the lens, but then she also looks incredible in front of the camera. It's not right, but it's so right. I love Michelle.
She's got awesome photography skills.
Yeah, she did some video work that was for our friend Maying. Look at her. See, it's not to love. I'm sure she's probably like busting out laughing right now. I know her listener in here. And I think that was just like a test photo too. It's just the fact that she can just, and then here's me just chaotically cackling. Anyway, so
you're looking great.
So the day was a very full day. Michelle came over. This was like some more of the fabric that I ended up buying. And then we're just kind of playing with the light. So at this point, Michelle has 4 strobes. They're Profoto D1s or D2s, if that sparks anything for anybody. And I think at this point, we just have barn doors as the modifier. So at the end of the light, it is what it sounds like. It's like these 4 panels. So 2 on the top, 2 on the side, and you kind of like close them and open them more to kind of direct or spread out the light. But felt like it wasn't really, I don't know, it wasn't really quite it. And then she decided maybe
her hand.
look at her hand. We decided to put another light kind of like in the background to kind of bust through the sheer fabric, because I was like, oh, well, at this point I was still kind of like trying to see if like maybe it is, how important is it to see the red through this like corally pink, whatever. And we just kind of mess with the exposures at this point, or maybe we didn't. Yeah.
And it's also fascinating and point out like the change in color here. So these are untouched photos right now.
Yeah, these are, yeah.
And it just goes to show you how much an adjustment of light, both artificial and natural, can really shape the space, as well as also messing with the fabric to kind of experiment with how it is placed off of there.
Yeah. And at this point, so we ended up, because when you're using a strobe light with your camera, you need to have a hot shoe, which is like the little remote that kind of like lets the camera and the light speak to one another. We realized as we were setting up that we did not have the hot shoe. So I had to run out and go rent them very quickly. And that's a perk of being in New York City. I could just like take a 20-minute Uber, pick up the stuff and come back. So at this point, it's just also like the ISO is bumped up to 1250 and it's like a 50-second exposure. And the lights are just, they're the modeling lights. So they're not firing at like full blast, but the light is on. So you can kind of have some idea. So where the background light was kind of more over here, then this light kind of, I think, moves even behind. So this is like the coral, and then behind the coral, right, we had the sheer pink and the sheer red. And so the light is now behind the sheer red kind of shining through. And like Ryan said, you can kind of tell like a change in color. Again, just trying to like play around with like the layers and what it would do. We start moving around. We start moving around like the background. Here you see Michelle like adjusting some stuff. Playing with the fabric maybe more in like kind of movement and still feeling kind of weird. So then we're kind of wondering if it should be like more curtainy. Michelle is like if I was Michelle, I would just like never act right. I cannot believe how creative and talented and how fast her mind moves and how she can do all these things. And she was just like, we were spitballing together and it was really incredible. Like literally my favorite co-pilot. Not me with this face. So we're still looking and trying to figure things out. And then got the modifiers, right? Got the modifiers, but then realized I changed my ISO, changed my settings. So now I'm down to like ISO 250 to take into account for the light. And we're still just trying to figure things out. At this point, I think we had
I know this is just a test shot right here, but that darkness and the illumination of your light right there of your face is really. And also the next one after that.
Oh, yeah.
This one? Oh, yeah. I love that. Very Frida Kahlo vibes.
Thanks.
Just put some scissors in your hand. Boom. There you go.
All in a day. Yeah. And I'm like, also my makeup was like half done. Like half done. So I have like one. I'm not. Okay. We're going to zoom out. Yeah. So we're still just figuring things out. And it was really fun. I think at this point we had like a beauty dish instead now as like our main light. Or maybe it
Ursula wants to know if you've spoken about why you chose this color palette.
Oh, yeah. So kind of a homage to the rose tinted glasses, like in terms of like speaking about heartbreak. And then the final image, I can kind of break down more into like the symbolism of everything. But this image, I think what I ended up kind of deciding on, it's just kind of like the self-portrait of, you giving a lot to your partner and they're taking from you and you're kind of just like allowing it to happen because you have rose colored glasses, because you're willing to like overlook something, because at least in my experiences, I'm happy to bend over backwards because I'm doing it for the sake of like being very deeply in love. Right. But then this image is the beginning of the series where it's like, but we're kind of reaching a breaking point. Like I'm actually kind of getting tired. I'm a little frustrated. So that was a little of that, I think. So that's kind of like why the pink and the reds, I kind of decided on that. Absolutely. And then the yellow being for a homage to Frida's chair. Okay, so it's getting kind of dark. Ryan mentioned, right, like, it's kind of dreamy or it's kind of Frida-esque, whatever. But there was something about like things kind of really falling off that was feeling weird. So then we decided to add a third light coming in from stage right, I guess, if we're doing that kind of thing. It was kind of bright. Again, just figuring it out. We ended up renting a snoot. So a snoot provides like a more spotlighty effect for your modifier. So our main light, and now we're going to start figuring out how to play with that. And then or maybe we just put down the snoot and then it was, I think this is when we start snooting. Yeah. And so now
snooting.
Or no, because the beauty dish is here. I think we ended up putting, okay. So then we are playing, so we didn't put on the snoot yet. We're still messing around with the beauty dish and this kind of mixing in of the second light. We ended up putting the beauty dish overhead. And I think it was kind of into it, but I wasn't sure. I realized then like my shirt is like black. So it's like obviously absorbing all the color. In my final image, I'm kind of stripped down more to underwear. So I took off my shirt, whatever. Here's a bralette. And so trying to see like how the light is kind of going to be hitting the rest of my body. Then I start kind of messing around with like how I want my figure to look, kind of like what my legs are doing as the beauty dish is kind of overhead. So I had time to play with that. I kind of liked it, but then I don't know, just like the way that the light's hitting me and then kind of like the shadow underneath my neck and whatever, I don't know, like, and especially because my brow bones are kind of, they were cutting off some of the light. So I wasn't sure about it. And then we start to snoot and then we put in the snoot and then it gets like more directional. We start doing some adjustments there to kind of like accent it. And then we mess with then we decide like, let's just see, Michelle always says, let's see what the one light is doing. And then we can add on everything else. So we turned off all the other lights, the ones that were coming down here, the ones that were coming in from behind. And so now we're just trying to.
Sean wants to know if you're using a light meter.
I am not using a light meter. I am using my heart, but.
Love to hear it.
Yeah, so light meter probably would have been better, but no, we're just kind of going off of just looking because as what I'm looking off into is my laptop.
Right.
So we're kind of playing with that, and then we start bringing in the other light. I'm like, oh, this is getting kind of cool. And then we kind of like land somewhere here, and then we bring in this backlight, but then we're kind of losing this kind of dramatic circle thing. And also kind of what I had liked about this too was that, you know, Michelle and I were kind of talking and it kind of feels like for the self-portrait, it was kind of cool to lean into a little bit of like a theatrical aspect of like a spotlight on stage and not to say that like being in a relationship or in my case, everything that I did was very performative and just going through the motions, like I really did it. But then also like this idea of like, as women, right, you're kind of, from my experience and my interpretation of everything kind of, and conversations that I've had with women in my life, that like you kind of go through the motions, you act the perfect part. And like, of course, everything's supposed to be fine, right? Like, of course, your partner, how could they not be totally like in love with you in a way? So kind of like leaning into that type of aspect of like performance, which is pretty cool. The background I'm still kind of feeling weird about. So then you kind of see, no, that's my shadow. Michelle starts moving around the light to kind of see what's going on. And then we kind of got this moment and I thought that was like really dreamy. Here's my girl. She steps in because I went somewhere maybe like to get food or we did lunch or something. Ryan steps in at one point, which will be really great to show. So we're just now playing kind of exactly like where we want me dramatically running away. Kind of seeing where we like the light to be, and then eventually we kind of land at somewhere kind of around
where we land for it. I want to make sure that we get enough time to
edit
the actual edit.
Okay, sorry, I'll speed it up. We land here. There's this idea of fabric kind of pulling at me as like this form, like as in kind of what your partner is like taking from you, what I'm trying to like resist against, and or what they're kind of taking, blah blah blah. And so now we're just messing around with it and we're moving it down. Michelle's like, this is kind of looking like Baby with a Stork, so maybe not that wide. And I was like,
Baby with a Stork.
It's very silly. So then we kind of like land here. Here's Ryan's moment in the sun. And then we're just.
I think is your best piece. Honestly, I'm surprised we're not editing this one. But
we should. I will be making a 16 by 20 print of it, maybe if I can crop it down. And then I change and kind of get into character. So off to the side, you kind of see then that we're just messing around with what the fabric is going to kind of look like. You know, we're kind of like here trying to pose. I'm like holding the roses as opposed to like the scissors in the hand, and just messing around with that. And then just trying to see, we also
love the roses in the hand. Oh, and also you guys, you experimented with a different color as well.
Sorry. Yeah, so then I was trying to see maybe like red, right? Like whatever, but it was like kind of too stark, too whatever. Wasn't really vibing it with it. So then we go to the black fabric, and then we just basically play around with that. I start getting nervous because I'm like, Ryan's watching me, and I kick him out. But then he was like, don't you want my hand in there? And I was like, oh, absolutely. Because it was, not that you can really see a hand very deeply in the photo, but
Look at my hand right there.
That's your
Look
hand.
at my hand. Go me.
That's a model. But it was kind of important to kind of bring that aspect, like a male hand, into the shot.
Yep.
So we kind of go there, and then I'm just going to organize by rating, and you guys need to see all of the whatever. But
mine's number one.
Yours is number one. He was
That's
number
great.
one. Okay.
Schmitty Man Morgan Jensen.
Thank you. That's why you're a real one. So we kind of land here, and this is kind of the final piece that I ended up with. I'm looking directly at the camera. I feel like my expression is kind of giving a little like, look at me. Do you kind of see what's going on? I'm kind of fed up, but maybe in the next breath, I'm kind of like, is this okay? So it was cool. It was really fun. Michelle had a great idea of kind of wrapping the fabric around the chair to kind of do a homage to the hair kind of wrapped around Frida's chair. And so it is kind of dark in the bottom. So now what's cool about Capture is that it does work with other programs. Again, not trying to plug Capture, but then I can easily open up, and then you can see I'm like editing product shots. So you can edit through here. I also did some color correcting in here to make it more warm, because it did come out pretty cool when I shot it. So I guess first and foremost, I'm going to do like this profile corrections. So whenever you're shooting, depending on what lens or whatever, sometimes the lens is just going to warp because that's just how the glass is and whatever. So by using the profile corrections, it's automatically going to just kind of like even things out to make it not so wonky. And then because I kind of felt like the color was good there, I'm just going to translate it over and bump it up to exactly 100. And, okay, I can't. Okay. So we're just going to do it manually.
Aha! See, this is where Photoshop would come in handy.
Okay.
Or Lightroom.
So, is this where? Oh, Ryan, when do we do that thing?
You want to do the thing?
The thing you didn't know was their thing, but it's not.
Yeah. But we're still not in Adobe product. We got to get into Adobe product first.
Oh, but we're in Adobe now.
Oh, are we in Adobe?
Yeah. Sorry.
Right
so
now, I'm still seeing. Your other thing.
Okay. Wait. Oops. It's because I was in Capture. Now we're in. Here we go. Okay. Now is it? Do you see it?
Oh yeah. Here we go.
Okay. Sorry.
There we go.
I was toggling. Okay.
Oh, you're good. All right. So you want to do it? You want to figure out?
Because I messed it up a little. Let's do it when we actually get into Photoshop. I'll give you the signal. I'll do one. I'll do one of these. Okay. So when the image first came in, it was pretty cool because the color correction that I did in Capture didn't necessarily translate over into Camera Raw. So sorry, what I was mentioning before was also, these are like the profile corrections for the lens because glass. So now I guess I'm just going to kind of mess around the color, see what I kind of like. I want it to be more warm as opposed to cool. But I don't want it to be super warm, but I don't want it to be super pink. And then you can also like always go back into Camera Raw after you close out of it. Okay. I'm gonna bump the saturation up a little bit.
Now, this is all from eye, right? Like this is kind of like you're just going off your preference and you're kind of just messing with the dials to get to a location that you like. And right?
Yeah. It's again going more from the heart because there really isn't. And especially with like personal projects, I guess, it's like part of like the artistic expression of everything of like how you kind of want it to come across. And again, like the difference, what will kind of make a difference is that when you start printing, so like, should I want to make a print out of this? What it looks like on the screen might not necessarily translate correctly for the printer, even if you have the right printer settings set up or whatever. So you would have to go back in and it might look wonky on the computer, but then to get the print to look more the closest to your version on the computer, like you would have to kind of fudge a little bit. But as of right now, for living digitally, that's just kind of what I'm going with.
And Annika wants to know what's been the most challenging part when it comes to working with portrait photography.
Oh my God. The reason I don't like portrait photography is because I feel like my head is racing with like settings and the composition and the space that we're going to be going in. Like if I'm outside, like not getting hit by a car. And on top of like everything else. And I have to also like direct the people. And I get sometimes like, I mean, I feel very comfortable because I feel like essentially I'm just talking to Ryan. I mean, I know we're on a live, but I can't see any of the comments or anything. So I'm very comfortable with Ryan and I don't mind talking like that, but I am kind of shy. So then to also try to direct people and get them to be at their best angle, I find like really challenging. But you know, I think it's just more so like a muscle that you have to work with. So trying to get over that.
Are there any things that you always go in and you're always like, I'm going to hop in, I'm always going to pump the highlights or I'm always going to pump the shadows? Or is it strictly picture to picture?
I think it's like picture to picture. It depends, like, you know, especially if I'm doing more like commercial work or whatever, like, I don't know. My number one thing is always like color correcting. So like if I'm doing product photos, especially like shooting with a gray card, making sure that that kind of like looks right. The profile corrections for the lens is like really important to me. And then typically I try to shoot as close as I can, like out of camera, so that like I really don't particularly love doing like a ton of compositing afterwards, just because like you think, especially if you're doing product or whatever, like, oh yeah, maybe it'll take like 5 minutes in post, but if you have that times like 40 images, that like kind of adds up.
Absolutely.
So it kind of like depends. Okay, so I'm just gonna.
Sean is really advocating for the light meter here. He's like, you take care of all that with the light meters before people show up, then you can focus 100% on the people.
You know, you might be making a point. I'm not going to confirm or deny. Okay. So then another thing too. Okay, so we
did lose your screen because you exited out of the window. Just for the record.
Yep. Nope. Thank you, Ryan.
We'll bring it back.
They pay you the big bucks. Are we back?
Yep, we're back.
Okay, cool. Okay, so then we're in here. Here's me. I guess like off the bat, I can just share what I'm thinking. So the ground is really dark. When we were in capture, I saw that the information was there, so I could lift the shadows as much as I wanted to. So I'm going to be lifting that. My skin tone, I feel like it does look kind of like magenta-y here, but then like, and kind of my forearm, but then when I hit the light, I'm kind of yellow. So trying to make them speak a little bit more cohesively together and then kind of decide like exactly what kind of like tone that'll do. I think like I'm also just, oh wait, is this it? No. Also just kind of like highlighty here, trying to see like if I'm going to bump anything, maybe my lip shade. And then Ryan's hand also, because then also too, maybe like I'll bring in another one of his hands. We'll see how much time we have. But I think like off the bat, that's kind of like what I'm noticing. So I like to work with like a lot of layers. So because I know, I think I'm going to try to tackle this bottom of the foreground, I'm just going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to open up Camera Raw again. Where is she? There she is. And it'll just make the edits to that specific layer. So
Brilliant.
I'm going to bring up the shadows a little bit, not too much. And so then I'm just kind of editing also just to look at this bottom half and like kind of ignoring everything else. Wait, can you see the camera raw or no? Did I lose it?
We cannot see the camera raw.
Oh, geez, Louise. Sorry, guys. Mondays, first thing of the week. Okay. Mondays. Okay, so we're here. Okay. So then, yeah, I'm kind of bumping this up a little bit, adding the shadows up a little bit.
It's amazing how much then the bottom is then kind of brought to light, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, just to kind of give it a hint, and then I might not even want it to be showing that much, but just to kind of do that. Okay, bring that in, and then I'm going to make a mask, and then I'm going to invert it, and then I'm sure I lost you again. I love this dance. Thanks for watching, guys.
You're doing great.
Thank you. Yeah, I typically just like kind of edit while blasting some music, so it's kind of interesting to have somewhat of me
just speaking in your ear. There's actually a new thing on I can do like some dance pop.
No, it's okay. Let's just is that it?
That's it.
Oh, cute. Okay, let's go. I feel like this kind of sounds like you're kind of like a chic restaurant, like waiting to kind of get sat, but like
Yeah.
you're making eye contact with the hostess, but you don't want her to kind of get annoyed at you, but you want to sit.
Like, let's go. Like, come on.
Said
Simply
30
please.
minutes,
Thank
like
you.
40 minutes ago. Okay, I'm trying to like not get.
Oh, okay, so what's this feature? What are we looking at right now?
Oh, fun. Okay, yeah. So I just did. You know the delete button, the button that's underneath it with like the backslash and the straight line. If you have a mask and you just click that, you can kind of see like what your mask is. So everything, you can pick different colors. I think the default is red, but I feel like red is very aggressive for my eyes. So I picked like kind of this like pretty cool blue, or I guess it kind of looks more purple here. So that's my default color. But then everything that's in this color is where the mask isn't. And as I'm like coloring in, I'm showing kind of like what the mask is going to be affecting. So for this layer, it's like my camera raw layer. And just to kind of get like a better idea, because it's kind of like a little tricky to kind of see. Where like my little leg, I didn't get to that, going here, and this. Wait, should we circle back to that question Bruce had about networking or something? I can answer that one.
Yeah, sure. So how do you find most of your clients? Is it through word of mouth? Is it through like cold calls? Do you feel like you get work through your social media? How do you kind of approach that?
Yeah, it's been like a really interesting dance. It's like tricky, right? As of right now, it's like word of mouth. But I also have like especially for assisting in digiteching, I have like consistent photographers I've been working with, so that's been pretty cool. But then for like other jobs that I'm getting, like I'm a part of some Facebook groups, NYC image makers, for example, they're like kind of posting things sometimes, or like freelancing females, which is a Facebook group for freelancing females. And people will post like looking for creatives. So kind of things like that, like being a part of communities that kind of have job postings. Word of mouth is pretty important too. But then also something that was really interesting was when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on summer of 2020, right? Which kind of seems bonkers. It was a couple of years ago, right? Because it was like during the pandemic. And there ended up being this really cool resource that our friend Dana Chang actually like linked me to. And it was like a spreadsheet where people were inputting their names and what their skill sets were, like if you were a Black or a person of color. So that has actually been like super helpful, because I found what it was difficult for me is that I am not friends with a ton of different photographers. I have like my small group of friends who are photographers, but I'm not like really immersed in a lot of communities. So trying to get my foot in the door, it was kind of difficult. But being a part of this spreadsheet made for BIPOC individuals, it was really helpful. And I got like a lot of work through that. But a lot of it is too, is like just, I did a huge purge on my Instagram. And I now strictly only I don't follow brands or like anything anymore. I like only follow my friends or creatives, and a lot of them being photographers. And so also like a lot of people like are looking for assistance or digitechs like last minute. And so some people that I consistently work with, it's because I slid into their DMs and I was like, hey, like I'm available. Or, you know, sometimes some brands will be like, hey, looking for a photographer to do this, whatever, reaching out to them, and then also like following up with an email. So just kind of, it's, I guess, like digitally a lot. And then also just like having a network and people recommending you is also, that's really been helpful. If that all made sense.
Yeah, I think that was a great answer.
Thanks. Okay. And you can just kind of see that the ground was really dark. Now I put it lighter. Kind of noticing it's like kind of yellow. So then I do command click on the mask. And then I guess,
and so that's going to just bring in only your color balance adjustments to the bottom where you were before.
So yeah, because I had, for whatever was selected, whenever I clicked into mask it out, the mask that was made is now just going to be for like this chunk again. And then depending on what I do.
Do you have a birthmark, a tattoo, or a Band-Aid on your shin?
Oh my God, it's a little rose petal.
So that's a rose petal.
Yeah, it's subtle.
Look at that.
This is a rose petal. Yeah, it was just kind of stuck on there. And it was like kind of subtle and kind of liked it, so I kept it in there.
That's cool. Now, do you ever have any like tips and tricks for any sort of like portrait photography edits? Do you normally edit the eyes? Do you ever really work on any sort of like skin refinements?
Yeah, I do. So a lot of people get like oily, so I'll take away like those like oily highlights, but I try to keep enough of like a natural glow. So like a cute glow, not like a, oily glow.
Right.
And then also I don't like to do a ton of like skin retouching just because, especially for like the portraits that I'm shooting, like I was working a lot with like real estate agents and stuff. So they just kind of need like content for their like social feed. So it's not like it's going to be like in an ad campaign or anything. So I do like
not airbrushing real estate agents.
Yeah, I'm really not. Or even just like, our friend Jillian, she had a headshot that she needed me to kind of edit. So I just like quickly like kind of cleaned it up and like took away some blemishes and smoothed out her skin a little bit, but it's like nothing super crazy.
Right.
But I think off the top of my head, that's like kind of it.
Your go-to ones, yeah.
Yeah.
So I see already here, though, you have 4 layers that you got going on. Do you feel like you normally get pretty layer heavy, or do you kind of like to keep it to a minimal amount of layers?
I like to add a lot of layers, and then I like kind of like naming them and grouping them. So technically, if I was strictly focusing on this for shadow, color, like, or CB. So I'm big on like labeling them and then also like grouping them in like folders. So like if I were to group it in folders, I would like, this would just be essentially for the floor, right? But I'm big on the layers.
Big on the layers.
Big
on the panels.
Yeah.
Now I can see that it's already though that you have your floor folder to pass through though, which is interesting.
Yeah, well, that's like the default.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, yeah.
Whoa.
I know, right? What's going on here? Photoshop.
Are you messing with the different modes on?
Yeah. I'm just like floating, just seeing, because I think it's typically on pass through. Okay, now I'm doing selective color, and that'll just kind of focus on like these types of tones within the image. I'm just trying to see like if I can get the floor to kind of look a little bit more neutral.
Yeah.
Some of the cyans, the yellow. That makes it really blue, but I don't want that.
How long do you normally think you would take on like any given sort of photo retouch?
Ugh,
I know it's normally can directly be reflective of the composition and the subject in the photo, but do you feel like you spend more time retouching product shots, or do you feel like you spend more time retouching portraits?
I think because right now, for example, like I'm in the middle of at product shot edits for Haven's Kitchen, and that is just like more time consuming because I'm essentially like cutting out, well, I guess maybe I could, I'm essentially cutting, there are like these boxes that the sauce packets are going in. And so right now, like there's like 6 different images per sauce box. And so then I also have to like kind of cut them out. So then I'm also like using the pen tool to create a path so that if like the designers need it on its own and not just on a white background, like they want to put it on color, they want to put it wherever, like they have access to do that.
The flexibility.
Yeah. So like for a grouping of like 8 images, maybe it's like taking me like an hour-ish per 8 images. And then there's like some like adjustments that I kind of do with it to kind of like, bump up some stuff and whatever. But something like this, like, I don't know, like, because typically like, as I'm diving now into like artistic practice or photography, I think what I've seen like some photographers, like with one image, it takes like hours because they're just kind of like fine tuning everything. Like, even just like looking at this, like I don't know, because I'm like, well, technically I could, I have some like bumps and bruises or whatever, because I'm always running into things. Or maybe they're just
aren't we all?
Or maybe they're just veins. Like, I don't know. Like I could or like you can kind of see some texture here. Like I would probably mess around and see like, even though I said I'm not doing like a ton of skin stuff, like seeing like how perfect or imperfect I want it to be. There's like a natural highlight here that I could maybe want to accent a little bit, like maybe the shadow.
Now, would you naturally use that with the healing Band-Aid tool, or would you use kind of like the clone stamp?
For like the bumps and bruises and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
That is a good cue. I think for this, I would use probably like a spot healing.
Okay.
See how that looks. And that like usually does like a pretty good job of keeping it like natural. And again, it's like, I don't know, not to be like that, but it's not, I want to keep it realistic, but also show that, you know, some thought and care was put into it. Or I don't know what that is. Probably a good thing. Also too, like my feet are kind of blue, so I'll probably like fix that. Or like, I don't know. Like,
how would you go about changing just that kind of area? Would you do that with a mask again and just like a color adjustment?
Yeah. And maybe honestly, because I probably should put, this feels weird because it's Adobe, whatever. I probably should have like also lotioned that part of me. I think I like literally hit my legs, and then I guess I just forgot about the bottoms of my feet. But because it's also like, maybe I would try to like add some color in it also. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, there's just like so much, right? You can, depending on like how much you really want to like nitpick on things, like the roses are kind of dark here, like probably bringing in the shadows of it. But yeah, you can like move around a lot. And then also Photoshop's pretty cool because there's like a million different ways you can do like one thing. So that's also pretty fun. I don't know how this looks.
Yeah, because I always like I'll switch between like the stamp tool, the patch tool to the healing brush, just to see whatever gets the best kind of result. Whether that's either the computer doing the math for me and deciding how to cover things up, or if it needs a little bit of my assistance to say, no, actually, it'd be cool if you grab it from the thigh here, or
yes, you know, literally. And skin is interesting too because it's like has all these like subtle like undertones. So, and then also like all this like texture. So like, for example, I did the spot healing tool with like this, whatever is going on here. I think it's like a vein, but then ended up looking weird. So then, yeah, I might take the patch and then just like casually move it. I find for like product or like still life and stuff, I use like the patch tool more. And like for skin and people, I do more like spot healing, but sometimes some things are kind of funky. Like, yeah, I don't know. Zooming in a lot. Or like, yeah, like, I don't know, there's like a pimple here, I guess, whatever. That's like super easy for.
Speaking of zooming in, though, I think that's a great transition for.
What? I didn't know that was there.
All right, so there is a feature in Photoshop that can help us with this. You want to tell us a little about it?
You know, Ryan, I would love to.
Oh, yeah?
I would.
All right, give it a zoom in. Zoom in real quick.
Oh, wait. Okay, I was doing it backwards.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so, LOL. Ryan told me about the segment, and I was like, Photoshop? What? And then he showed me this really neat trick, because typically, like, if I'm zooming in or out, I'm just doing, like, the plus minus while holding command. But it's really cool that if I'm, like, zoomed in because, like, for example, I could want to go into my face or something, right? To get like a better view of what else is like how it looks on the outside. That's like cool. And then like this box, like if I want to zoom in somewhere else and then release the H, which is how you get this little box, I can do that. And it just like really saves like 2 seconds, which really again adds up because when you have a lot of stuff going on, you kind of want a shortcut. It's like kind of fun. It's like I'm traveling in time and space, but not.
Yeah, and it saves you that trouble of having to press like, you know, control minus, control plus.
Yeah.
Again, all you do, you just hold down that H button when you're zoomed in, and then you click and you drag, and that'll zoom it all the way out for a bird's eye view. And then you move the box to where you want to go, and you let go of the H, and it'll zoom back in for you.
Sure will, baby. Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's actually, I love a shortcut. Anything to make life easier.
Love a good shortcut.
Look at Ryan's hands. He's holding on for dear life. Yeah.
Well, that's because you also were like leaning back, and I was like, if I don't pull, then you will break your head open, and then I won't have a guest for Monday first thing.
I know, you're really tugging. It was like really incredible. Michelle was like pretty gentle, and then you were just like moving the chair, and we're like, okay.
Got a man's hand.
You're committing. Okay, but then also while we're...
Ooh, look at that hair. You can see the hair on my arm. Would you keep that, or would you edit that out?
I don't know. I think I would keep it, right? Because that's kind of like there's something shame in some hair in general, but I think also like for dudes, right? Like
for dudes.
Nice subtle thing. But I have been editing for a second, so I am also just gonna save, because you never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. It's always important to save while you're working through. And also, if you guys are working on something on your own time, make sure you save as well. So hello to Anna Davis Court. Anna Davis Court, like I said, she is going to be on the stream in just a little bit. Just to show you guys today's schedule again. Right now, we are with Ursula Prinz for photography. And we're going just about another like 10 minutes or so. 10.
Oh my God.
Time flies when you're having fun. But Anna's up at 12 o'clock. So we're going to go off for just about 30 minutes. We're going to do a replay for Daily Creative Challenge, and then we'll go off to Anna. And then once again, tomorrow, make sure you guys are back here around the same time with Zach. And we'll go over some video editing. So,
do you know what he's going to be editing?
I do know what he's going to be editing. We're going to be working with the chat to create a trailer for a made-up like TV show.
Oh, that'll be so funny. I'm so excited.
Well, you're going to be here, so you better give some good suggestions in the chat.
No, I'm on set tomorrow. I can't make it. It's embarrassing.
Oh.
I know.
Well,
sorry.
tell
I'm
everyone
really
on set to stop.
I know. The guys, actually.
To watch Adobe Live Offset with Ryan Selvy.
Oh, I didn't have my nose ringing? No, it's my wrong nostril. No, yeah, that'll be really cool. Again,
Wrong
like if you guys
nostril.
are free,
Try again later.
Okay.
So wait, that's actually a really good thing that just happened right there. You went to edit it with the Band-Aid tool, and then
the spot healing, and it just kind of like looked a little weird. Like I did that, and then it just kind of didn't totally pick up, right? Like that's just no bueno. So then
that could be an adjustment of the brush feathering. Like you could make the brush a little bit softer too. That could help, or you can also switch over to kind of how you are working with. Then you were going to use the patch tool, right?
Yeah, well, no, that's smart. Typically, it's just like a 1-2. I'm like, okay, if that's not working, I'm just going to switch and do something else.
Which is great, you know?
Yeah. No, but that's like a
also,
good...
Umbercorn says loving the animations. Thank you. Thank you, Umbercorn.
Oh my God, yeah, your like brain blast of...
like Tim and Eric.
Yeah, so good. I don't know. I feel like all eyes on me kind of thing. And then
I love the reflection of the inner eye.
Yeah, the little gemstones.
It's a little gemstone. It reminds me of the where was it? Let's get back to it. Where is it? Where's her tears? Where's her tears?
Tears.
Diego. Is Diego? Where that? There it is. Diego and I. Very reminiscent. Look at that.
Yeah. I wanted it to kind of like somewhat maybe signify some tears. Got it. Nailed it. But then also just like a very subtle cue, because right now I feel like, I don't know, should my work blow up in the very distant future, whatever, like a subtle
or very near future.
Very near future. Should my work blow up, I would like to, if you're going to like date it in a way, like if you know enough about like makeup trends or something, it's just very reminiscent right now from like the 2021, 2022 era because of Euphoria's impact. Like everyone's doing gemstones. I've been trying to incorporate it more in general.
Thanks, Zendaya.
Thanks. So it's been pretty cool. Okay, so I'm like a little shiny here, which like isn't the end of the world, but typically what I do is just I go in with the patch tool, and then I just kind of like bring it away. But then I know this is gonna be like a little tricky, so then I might just do stamp, right? A little bit, bring in here. Nope. Bring in. But then I can kind of tell too that like the texture is like kind of getting weird and fuzzy. So bring it, and that's like not great. Where do I want to pull from? Maybe here? Nope. Maybe here.
And also I can see that, so you're building this all on a full layer, which it doesn't have any mats or anything like that. It's just the top upmost layer. Would you ever duplicate and do like spot areas with blend modes as well? Or do you mostly like to stick to one singular pan?
Yeah, I like to kind of keep it all like together. Like I will work in multiple layers and then I'll just like combine them, if that makes sense, which is maybe a little chaotic, but old habits, hard to break. But that's just kind of how I've done it.
Whatever works best for you.
Yeah, it just kind of like makes sense in terms of like grouping and stuff. So, okay, so I'm here just gonna, I didn't want to completely take away the little shine, but I did want it to not be as, well, then I don't know. Oh, wait, should I do one? No. Should I do, here? No. Here we go. Let's see what it looks like. It's like learning a different language. It takes a second.
It takes a second to learn a different language.
Just 1 second, you know.
All right. Well, we have a little less than 10 minutes, so I just want to start with wrapping things up.
Yeah. No, I'm just, you take the lead. I'm here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm loving where this is going. I'm really excited to see where this finalizes and becomes, part of your portfolio. I think that it was really exciting to go through all your different pieces of inspiration and go through a little bit of art history. I think that this is a really great piece, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. No, it's been really fun. I'm kind of happy that you asked, because I feel like there's always like a million reasons to just kind of like push things aside, and especially because this is definitely more so a personal project. I don't know. It was good to like have a deadline. It felt a little chaotic, but it was so much fun. It kind of felt like being in school again. I feel like looking back at like the Micah experience, I wasn't totally sure if it was like the right time to go, because I feel like after high school, like you're just going through the motions of like trying to get an A, and then in art school, I didn't totally understand like the weight and the significance and how amazing it was to be in a creative environment for 4 years. So to kind of like,
and they kind of warn you about it, but you also don't really like understand
you don't really get it. Like you really just don't. And I think it's just like a bigger flaw in like society as a whole and like post high school education, which isn't the point of this live stream. But it's just really cool to now as an adult look back and like take all of the tools and resources and stuff that I've learned over the years and just kind of like reapproach this now with like having all of it. It's like really fun. So it was just really cool that this was able to line up, and it was just kind of like a push. And yeah, it felt like being in school again. And I don't know, like if I would show this on you, like the body of work anywhere, like it'd be cool to have like crits and stuff. I don't know. It's just like, it's exciting to make things again, just like for yourself and not more so worry about like, how is it going to pay the bills? It's nice to try to figure out this balance.
But hopefully Adobe Live and Behance can be a strong platform for you. And that we can continue to kind of explore this. I know that I personally stream on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, so I would love to have you back on my own stream.
Let's do it.
The Behance right here, down here, Ryan Selvy. And maybe we can explore kind of how this piece continues to adapt. And, I'm always down for some more art critics and having an open conversation about art, because it's hard to have that, just impromptu brought up. So.
Yeah, it really is. Or remember, we're going to do like live figure drawing. I know you did that kind of on your stream a few weeks ago or whatever, right? You were doing some of that, but maybe, I don't know, if we can catch that sweet spot between COVID spikes and we can like actually go in person. It's coming for us.
Spot between COVID spikes. You heard it here first, folks.
It's never ending.
Man. But once again, guys, you can check out Ursula's stuff at ursulaprinz.com. She's got some really beautiful stuff, and she's also available for hire in the event that you need some freelance. Oops, I forgot to take off our name tags. Give me 1 second. Oops. There it is. But plenty of collaborations to be had in the future. I guess we didn't look at travel. I mean, look at those beautiful waves.
Oh yeah.
Bing. Damn, this one's so cool.
I know, isn't it pretty? It's like off of Greece, off of like Santorini.
You can see the thing. And is that like a plane?
Yeah, it was like a little wisp in the sky.
Oh, weird, creepy.
Yeah, it's really pretty. Greece is beautiful.
No kidding. I mean, just look at that. It's nuts.
Yeah. I know, I was like never super into like, I don't know, religion in general, but I really love how like the master, because I took a high Renaissance class, and so like the masters and how they depict like Madonna and Child and everything was so gorgeous. Oh yeah, that's when I went to, because I ended up going to Frida Kahlo's house, so that was like one of her photographs, which was like really beautiful. It's just a bummer because actually she didn't want everyone like in her space, and the rights for her stuff were like with Diego, and then when Diego passed, he passed it on to a friend, and then when the friend passed away, Mexico was like, it's ours now. So they just like, really showed everything, which made me kind of feel bad about being in her space, but it's an incredible home. It's like just such an artist through and through. Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Are you at Frida's live now?
100%.
It's a beautiful, beautiful house. She's very cool.
Yeah. So how far do you feel like you are from finished?
Like not, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's also, I don't know.
Wait, Elena Citron's here?
Elena, you crazy girl.
I didn't see that. Hey, what's up? Another Micah. Another
Elena
very, very talented person.
Girl, when I was at Sir Kensington's, she was a designer when I was a photographer, and the stories we could tell. She is so talented. I told her actually about this series like a couple weeks ago when I got tacos with her, and she's like, "You should do it." And I said, "Thanks, Elena." Oh my God, yeah, let's plug Elena. Let's plug Elena.
Boo! B-O-O-O-O-O-O.
Exclamation point! I'm sure she's like giggling and turning red right now.
She's like, you can't get in there. It's a private area.
Private. No, but her work is like really, her work is really good. She's a really beautiful, talented designer, and she inspires me all the time. We'll see. I think probably, I don't know. I think a lot of it's just like playing with color and stuff, because even as I'm making things brighter, I'm like, oh, is that cool? Is that not? And then like maybe like taking away from my face. It's all kind of a dance. That's how I look at it. I just like kind of playing with Photoshop. So I don't know. I don't know how it'll go. Maybe I'll like take away my body. Maybe I'll keep that like a little darker.
I will be sure to share it out whenever it is completed. Elena says, I am giggling.
I can hear her laugh like so clearly. She's like a few blocks from me, Ryan.
It's iconic. Is she really?
Kind of.
We hung out before COVID, but I haven't seen her since COVID.
Oh no, well you're on Prospect and she's off. And I'm not.
Wow, docs.
Oh, sorry.
Boom. No, I'm kidding. I'm very open about where I live.
Sorry. Because she's like a few blocks from. I'm not gonna keep going. I think you guys are kind of close. I don't know if she could walk, but it's definitely like would be like a.
We'll make it work. Let's hang out.
We should
next week after this Adobe Live stuff is done.
Yeah, let's celebrate. Cheers.
Cheers. Anyway, I got to wrap things up because this cuts off early. It doesn't cut off at 30. It cuts off a little bit early for stuff to pop open. So, thank you again for being here. Thank you for walking us through your journey of this photo series. Thank you for talking us through some awesome photo artists. Thank you for teaching us things about Photoshop. And thank you for just being so open and exploring Adobe Live.
Shrug. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on here, and I hope that this was beneficial to someone. But
absolutely, I learned a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't know. I like talking about art and doing stuff, and so I'm really excited to see where this all goes. And I'm very grateful to have the opportunity, and forever grateful that Ryan and I are such good friends and that I have you in my life. So thank you.
All right, guys. See you in a little bit. I'm going to play the outro. We'll see if it works. If I get it. Bye.
Bye.
Join Cody Bear as she hosts Power Prompts, Medieval March, Week 3, Sword in the Stone, every Monday at 2:30 Pacific, only on Adobe Live. Let's Go Fresco with Kyle T. Webster, Thursday mornings at 7:30, only on Adobe Live.
Hi, Sarah's here. Oh, Sarah, I get to play your thing.
And it's done. I'm going to end the broadcast though.
Oh, it's over. Sorry, I was like, are we back on?
No. It's just